So in this video, I want to give you an update on some of the major Second Amendment cases that are currently going on. So let's talk about this. But real quick, before we jump into this video, I want to thank a sponsor of this channel, which is USCCA. Through your membership, you get training, education, and self-defense liability protection. So if you carry a firearm, I highly recommend you take a look into USCCA, and I'll put a link to them down in the details section. So I guess in the intro, in this video, I want to give you an update on some of the major Second Amendment cases and issues that are currently going on, especially since the Supreme Court's recent decision in Bruen. A lot of these cases have changed, a lot of things have happened, so a lot of you guys ask me questions about what's going on in XYZ case, and so I just want to put out a video that kind of gives you a general overview of some of the bigger cases and issues that are currently going on, so you have a single video to reference so you know where each of these currently stands. So first I want to talk about 4 Second Amendment cases that were up for Supreme Court review and then got GVR'd. If you're not aware, GVR'd means grant, vacated, and remanded, and this all happened after the Supreme Court issued their ruling in Bruen. After that landmark decision by the Supreme Court in Bruen, there were 4 other cases that were on hold because of Bruen. Those were Duncan, ANJRPC, Bianchi v. Frosch, and then Young v. Hawaii. All of those cases were granted, vacated, and then remanded back down to the circuit courts where they originally came from. So, for example, Duncan v. Bonta is the case that deals with California's ban on so-called large capacity magazines. Currently, the Ninth Circuit en banc panel is looking at that case once again. They requested supplemental briefings from the party and are asking what they should do. In this case, I would believe that the Ninth Circuit en banc panel will in fact remand the case all the way back down to the district court, Judge Roger T. Benitez, and I'll explain why I think that's going to happen, because pretty much they have already done that with some of these other cases that come out of the state of California, but that's where Duncan currently stands. There is another case as well that kind of fell the same way, and that is the Young v. Hawaii case. That is another Ninth Circuit case, originated out of the state of Hawaii, deals primarily with the state of Hawaii's permitting schemes, where they pretty much do not issue permits whatsoever for open carry or concealed carry. And then the Ninth Circuit en banc panel has decided to send that case back down to the district court judge there in Hawaii. So it was sent back down to district court judge there in Hawaii. One of the interesting things about Young v. Hawaii, when you read that decision by the en banc panel, there is a really scathing and very heated dissent by some of the judges on the en banc panel. There were 4 judges on the en banc panel who said it's absolutely ridiculous that the Ninth Circuit en banc panel will not hear this case and that they are refusing to hear these cases. Even after the Supreme Court told them to reconsider this case, they're still going to send it back down to the district court. So this dissent, the opinion of the dissents, were saying that we are not doing our job. We are not upholding the Second Amendment. We are not adhering to what the Supreme Court said. And essentially that we should be ashamed of ourselves, not those 4 specific judges, but all the other judges on the en banc panel who are pretty much just not doing their job. Now, some other cases I want to talk about are specifically to the state of California. There are 2 cases first I want to talk about. There is the Rupp v. Bonta case and the Miller v. Bonta case. Rupp and Miller were both cases that made their way out of the district courts in the state of California and then were up for review by a 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit. Rupp had actually made its way through most of the process for the 3-judge panel, kind of process there in the Ninth Circuit. But once Bruen and that decision hit, the 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit that had control of Rupp decided to send the case back down to the district court judge there, and that is in the Central District of California. So that was one of the first dominoes that fell and really signaled to how the Ninth Circuit was going to handle and deal with all these other cases. After Rupp was remanded back down to the district court in the Central District of California, then there was the Miller v. Bonta case, and again, it deals with the state of California's ban on so-called assault weapons in the state. The 3-judge panel there in the Ninth Circuit did decide to remand the case back down for reconsideration in light of Bruen, but one of the things and one of the positive things that's come out of this and the remand to Judge Roger T. Benitez is that he's pretty much wasting no time. He is not going to let these cases drag out any longer than they need to, and he's already ordered supplemental briefings on these issues. He's already requesting that this case needs to be resolved within the next 90 days. So by like mid-November, maybe early December, he's saying that he will rule on this issue because he's not going to drag this out any longer. Another case that's still up at the Ninth Circuit level is the Rody v. Bonta case, and that is the ammunition restriction case out of the state of California. Currently, that is before a 3-judge panel at the Ninth Circuit level. With the Rody case, there were already oral arguments and hearings on that issue, and it was simply on hold because of all these other cases that were making their way through the Ninth Circuit and the Supreme Court as well. After Bruen was decided, the 3-judge panel there in Rody requested supplemental briefings on that issue, and we're still waiting to see how all those supplemental briefings work out. If any of these other cases are any indication about what they might do, what maybe the other two judges do, I would suspect that the Rody v. Bonta case would maybe be remanded back down, but that would go to Judge Benitez as well. And any indication would be that he would do the same thing that he did in Miller, try to fast track the Rody v. Bonta case back through the process again, won't try to stall it out for a year plus like the state of California wants. He will probably try to resolve the Rody case as fast as possible. Now, the last thing I want to talk about out of the state of California is some developments and some recent lawsuit changes in regards to the California handgun roster case. There are two primary cases that we've been keeping our eyes on. That is the Rena v. Bonta case, and then there is also the other case that was filed by our CRPA, and that is a case that involves Reno May, another YouTuber that you guys are likely very familiar with. So there are two handgun rosters cases currently going on that are challenging the handgun roster in the state of California, and this is again coming in light of the Supreme Court's recent ruling in Bruen. Now, the next major development in the Second Amendment world has to do with the whole ATF rule on frames and receivers, which went into effect in August. A lot of you guys are aware that the frames and receivers rule seeks to restrict the buying and selling and purchase of 80%er kits, and specifically targeted to 80%er kits. It requires that they be serialized and also that background checks be performed on them whenever a retailer or manufacturer kind of transfers these items. So the ATF is restricting access to those items, and they are claiming that these various parts kits or these kits are actually frames and receivers. Now, recently we saw that there was a decision in the Northern District of Texas in an FBC-driven case where the judge on review actually found that the ATF had no authority to regulate these parts kits, to regulate parts, and he struck down the enforcement of that new ATF rule against one specific manufacturer. Now, we will see if the scope of that injunction will be extended to customers as well, if it will be expanded to other manufacturers and other stores and dealers of those items. Right now, that ruling is limited only to that one manufacturer, but the hope is that maybe the scope of that can be expanded, or that other cases that are currently going on against the frames and receivers rule will use that decision as additional persuasive arguments for other district court judges to rule that it is invalid and that the ATF has no power to restrict access to those types of items. Now, the last cases I want to talk about have to do more with the Supreme Court's next term and what Second Amendment cases are currently pending before the Supreme Court. The two I want to focus on that I think have huge implications going forward is the Apashian and GOA cases, which deal with bump stocks. Again, it deals with the ATF's regulatory powers, whether or not they can regulate bump stocks as actual machine guns under the NFA and GCA. If they do decide to take them up this term, it has huge implications for what power the ATF maybe has going forward, not just for bump stocks, but for other items as well. Like I mentioned, we have issues with frames and receivers. There is the looming pistol brace rule, which is going to take effect likely in December is what the ATF has indicated. So Apashian v. Garland and the GOA v. Garland case are huge cases, and the Supreme Court takes them up next term. It could really do a lot to actually stop the ATF and their current actions right now. But that should give you a good overview of kind of the state of the Second Amendment right now, some of the big issues in the Second Amendment community right now, some of the major cases and battles that are currently going on. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. If you also like this video and support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet and signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, helping me to reach and educate more people than I could ever do on my own. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.